Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today. I was reflecting upon Lyle's comments earlier, and I don't think Lyle introduced himself at the start. That's Lyle Lukey, by the way, about Gerard Smythe's film, and if there was a memory left of what happened in Christchurch Central, I think Gerard encapsulated that. It was a very poignant reminder of what we've been through, and delightful to hear from Gerard this morning that the film's been accepted for the Melbourne Film Festival, and hopefully it'll go on to others. I think it's important we remember what has happened, but what we're about today is learning from those experiences. And with us this morning to take us through some of those lessons and learnings are three eminent people, all who played an enormous role in the rebuild to date of Christchurch. Mary Devine is the Managing Director of Ballantynes, a store which needs no introduction. Mary only just got her high heels under the desk at the MD's role in early February last year when February 22 happened. So she's going to tell us a little about her experiences. Anthony Leighs is MD of Leighs Construction, who have played an enormous role in the Restart project, and I wish to acknowledge John Suckling, who drove that project with Anthony's and other support. In 7 or 8 months, if you're from outside Christchurch, you'll probably know it as the Cashel Mall container shops alongside Ballantynes. It's been an enormous morale boost to the city to get shopping going again in the CBD, and Anthony played a big role in that. Sam Johnson probably needs no introduction to just about anybody in New Zealand now. He is the Young New Zealander of the Year, and of course Sam was the initiator back in September 2010 of the Student Volunteer Army. By the time of the February quake, about 9,000 students and others were involved in that volunteer process for the clean-up of our city. So these people have played very important roles. We wanted to ask about Ballantynes and how you led your team through that enormous impact of February 22.
Okay, thanks, Brendan. Probably just to give people context, because I know there are people that aren't from Christchurch, Ballantynes is a family-owned business, 154 years old, a department store business. We had one major store, was obviously in City Mall, which accounted for over 90% of our turnover. The site actually where we retailed from consisted of 4 buildings prior to February. And, you know, as I said, and then in addition, obviously, we had our airport and store in Timaru. So we were very vulnerable, basically, to the fact that we were one site. And interesting enough, before I came on board at Ballantynes, I was asked to do some consultancy. And the board had recognised, actually, back then, just the vulnerability of the business to basically one site and one form of retailing. So there was a great awareness around that risk factor. So I won't really dwell on the time. Obviously, we have over 400 staff, and on February we had 500 people in the building. But what I want to focus on is probably 2 aspects of how we manage the business going forward. Firstly, sort of from an operational perspective, and then secondly, from a strategic perspective. Because I think we've all got to stay very mindful. It's very easy, you have to react day in, day out around a crisis. But at the same time, it's important to keep our head up and look at the strategic opportunities that are presenting itself. So for us, first up, operationally, we obviously were totally displaced. We set up offices at the back of a contract warehouse that we had, and we also had a major meeting room at Holly Lee Retirement Village, of all places. But as you all know, you just make do. But with it, one of the things that we recognised very early on, and I'll talk about staff secondly, but was the important part for us was our contact back to our customers. And we always felt at Ballantynes one of the real competitive advantages that we had was our whole customer service ethos. So we knew the fact that we didn't have our shop anymore and we didn't have access to our product, we needed to move quite quickly to maintain that contact. So in a matter of weeks actually after the February earthquake, we set up a valuation kiosk in Merivale Mall. And that's where a number of our staff just helped our customers or any of the general public just work through a lot of their insurance and valuation issues. Again, it was just a service that we could provide to our customers. We started our famous bus trips to Timaru. With bubbles, with champagne and a lot of hilarity along the way. We did over 125 bus trips to our Timaru store, and probably had over 5,000 customers through those bus trips. The wonderful thing through this as well, we actually got quite focused on our Timaru branch, which probably had been somewhat neglected up until then. A lot of our staff we actually based down in Timaru, and for them, a lot of them it was great because it meant they had accommodation and a shower, and so it actually became a double benefit. But Timaru, through that, our sales doubled, but importantly actually, since we've gone back to some degree of normality, our sales have held in Timaru at 35% up on historical levels. So we're delighted with what we have achieved in that store through that time. We also set up a cafe in Riccarton Mall, and again it was just we had fabulous hospitality staff and we wanted to keep hold of them. So we took a short-term lease at Riccarton Mall, and actually we're still there, although we're looking forward to exiting and all coming back home. Again, the CBS Arena, we did a major clearance, again, which was significant for us, and over 20,000 customers. And then obviously our whole e-commerce strategy is something that we cranked up. So quite quickly, and that all happened really within the first 4 weeks of the earthquake, we needed to get mobilised and we needed to get contact back to our customers, and we did that in a myriad of ways. But I think the important thing at the time too was then to look strategically. So you've got everyone very focused day to day, which is great. Then we had to look strategically, what were the key issues that were facing the business? So first of all, it was obviously the assessment of our building and what we were going to do. We were very fortunate, we did get access in early into our building with engineers, so we could quite quickly ascertain what we were dealing with, which was a major advantage. Secondly, and then with that, obviously we went through the decision, we actually demolished 2 buildings, and then went through a whole strengthening process on our existing buildings to go to 100% building code. And at the same time, with the help of Anthony Leighs and Leighs Construction and the Buchan Group, we actually built 2 temporary structures. Now, when you say that, and you can say it quite quickly, it all sounds quite straightforward. But I have to say, and what we achieved from basically February to October was quite phenomenal. But we achieved it because we had commitment everywhere we went. Our own staff were absolutely amazing, but every contractor, dealing with anyone within Sarah and the council, everyone was absolutely committed to us opening our doors again. We all felt that there was a real sense of responsibility for the city to be a symbol of reopening and that we were going to be a way forward. We could not have achieved that without that total commitment. And in the months leading up to reopening, we probably had 150 contractors on site 7 days a week. It was full on, to say the least.
Can I just touch on the staff question, because I think Ballantynes is famous for having loyal staff. Many work for you their entire lifetimes. You've taken them through all of the trauma, but of course you've inevitably had to shed some staff. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Staff obviously was paramount for our company. So initially we started our communication strategy within obviously the first few days, as everyone did. But we set up weekly meetings, and with that I would always do a full briefing to our sort of 50 people, and then we would tumble down basically. But every Monday or Tuesday, everyone in the company had to turn up to one of these meetings, because you can imagine really for 6 months there was a large number of our staff that were not busy. And that way we kept everyone informed. And even when I said I didn't know what was going to happen, I told people. So whether we had information or not, we were very upfront and kept everyone well informed. We obviously also ran a system of ensuring we were well aware of those that were vulnerable and how we managed that process through. And that's something that I think we've all got to be conscious of. I think we were all very good at doing it very early on. But actually I found December really surprised me. Staff really struggled after, the December the 23rd. So I think that's something that we've got to be mindful of too. There's a lot that we did in the months and the first 6 months after the event, but it's not only that time. It is 12 months, and it is ongoing, and how we manage that is important.
All right. And the final thing I wanted to just touch on, but prior to February 22, 52,000 people within the 4 avenues. Enormous shrinkage. I mean, how have you managed to keep your business going with the loss of that that currency that was generated from all those people who worked in the CBD. You touched on e-commerce as one example.
Yeah, I think though at the end of the day, we are a total destination. You know, it's fabulous what Restart has done for the city, and that sort of leverages our position as well. But we have the mentality that we are a destination retailer. So if people make the effort to come into the store, the store experience has got to be better than anything that we've ever delivered before. So we've got a lot of things underway that will unravel in the months ahead, but that whole store experience. So, you know, we have wonderful Kate, actually, that was feeding the Orion staff as our in-house chef now. So we do everything from cooking demonstrations to market days to a lot of activity. We're about to launch personal shopping in the months ahead, which will be whether you want to come into the store or we come to you, we will find a way of, you know, being able to accommodate your needs. So I think we are very much a destination. You know, we don't have the luxury of having a lot of people around us, so we've got to be better than ever before. But I also think we need to therefore offer a uniqueness in brand and product that is different to what people can experience elsewhere. So bringing in some new exclusive brands, I think. We've got Nespresso for everyone that is into coffee, is coming in a couple of weeks' time. So things like that I think are going to be important.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mary Devine. Thank you. Anthony Leighs. Now Anthony, amongst his many achievements, he's incoming president of the Master Builders Federation. But he also has worked in Antarctica, the first commercial company to work in building in Antarctica. Very short lead time in Antarctica, summer season, etc. Was that useful, Anthony, to you, given that you had 8 months from the start of the Restart project through to opening day, the Prime Minister there, button ready to push?
Well, it's an interesting question. You know, is there the learnings and experiences we gathered from building in the coldest part of the world to building in the middle of an earthquake disaster zone? I think yes, because they're both so phenomenally challenging, and we were able to have people who can deal with the challenges and the curveballs that are thrown in a very non-traditional environment and deliver projects. But maybe if I could just start, because I, as Mary mentioned, I understand a number of you from outside of Christchurch. Firstly, just give you a little bit of background and description of what Restart is. Casual Mall